Peace, family. This is your brother King Cam, and this is another Shifting the Culture perspective. Earlier this week, we dropped our podcast episode on Shifting the Culture podcast around Monique's monumental and bombshell interview on Club Shay Shay. Now, if you haven't had an opportunity to check it out, go check it out. This is the second interview that Unc has did that is doing crazy numbers, and it's really shedding a lot of light on things that we had no idea about. I've also had the opportunity to take a listen to the responses that have come after the Monique interview. I've heard what Steve Harvey had to say, Stephen A. Smith. We have listened to D.L. Hughley and his response to what Monique had to say. And there, again, was a lot of light shed on things that we had no idea about some of our favorite business moguls, some of our favorite comedians and entertainers. Between Cat Williams and Monique's interview, they talked about and discussed Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Ricky Smiley, some of the biggest names in entertainment and comedy. But then there was Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, even Lee Daniels. That was also mentioned in these last two interviews. So when you look at the responses and you look at the comments, you have to wonder and think about the mindset of we as a people, because we have been conditioned mentally now to accept wrong when right is present, to accept lies or falsehood when truth is present, all for the preservation of our material things, our brand, what we present to the public, instead of standing on principles, standing on truth. Not your truth or my truth, because that's new. We're talking about the truth. I'm not talking about opinions and feelings. We're talking about actual facts. So, and I think it's important because this is the kind of stuff that trickles down into relationships. This is the type of stuff that trickles down into all of the interpersonal connectivity that we have in relationships that we have when we don't want to be real, we don't want to be authentic, and we don't really want to take accountability. And this is the theme that I'm seeing in these interviews is accountability. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his monumental book, Our Savior Has Arrived, in chapter 4, titled The Hidden Truth, he says some things about the truth that I want to present to us and lay pressure on our mind, because I think we lost sight of this. And it reads, chapter 4, The Hidden Truth. Hiding the truth is a very serious thing to do. It causes harm and disappointment and causes one to be misled. It causes loss of property and life. It causes the loss of friendship, beloved ones, and loss of confidence and trust. I'm going to stop right there. Because when you listen to Cat Williams or you listen to Monique, matter of fact, I even came across an interview of Maya talking about why she stepped away from the mainstream music industry. And those who want to check YouTube, you can go and you can watch interviews on interviews on interviews from artists who have fell out of mainstream media, stepped back from TV, whatever the case may be. And all of the stories sound the exact same. That this industry is so wicked, so dark, so manipulative, whereas at a certain point you realize that, and then you come to a crossroads and have to make a decision. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that when you hide the truth, it can cause loss of friendship, beloved ones, and loss of confidence and trust. That's what I hear when I hear Monique speak. I hear loss of friendship. I hear loss of beloved ones. I hear loss of confidence and trust in people who she looked up to, people who she trusted, people who she thought was family. You hear how she spoke about D.L. Hughley and their relationship, how she spoke about her and Kevin Hart's relationship, family, even her and Charlamagne's relationship, even though Charlamagne got his act together. The point is, though, loss of confidence in and trust in these people that you once thought was on the same team. She mentions that Oprah Winfrey was really the one that gave her the determination and the one that she looked up to when it came to becoming famous. When she was really influenced and motivated by Oprah as she was coming up. She talks about that throughout the interview. And to hear her discuss some of her experiences with Oprah after she was able to become famous, especially when she talks about Oprah having her family on her show, to her was a backstab, it was a betrayal, and it caused the loss of confidence and trust. That's what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying when you hide the truth. Monique mentioned the fact that Oprah didn't say anything about bringing her parents on the show. She only mentioned the brother. She didn't mention anything about the parents. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad goes on to say, in court, it causes heavy penalties in someone's being sent to prison or to death for that of which they are innocent. So a lot of people go to prison unjustly behind hiding the truth. So that's why the truth is so important. So now we connect this back to our history. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the greatest and gravest of all is the slave master's hiding of the truth that will exalt and save his slave. This is that great truth that white America is hiding from her once slaves, the black man and woman. The white people know of and see the salvation of their slaves is now present. They are doing everything possibly can to deceive the black man and woman into thinking that they, white people, hold out greater and better promises for a future to the black man and woman in America than Allah God. Well, what does that have to do with Monique, Cat Williams, Club Shay Shay? It really don't have nothing to do with them per se, that particular part of the reading, but it has something to do with the greater mindset that is in Black America, because we also in an election year. You also have influential black people utilizing their platforms on social media to push certain narratives, to push certain agendas, and to really try to get their base to participate in these federal elections that are presenting to us white people who don't have our best interests at heart. Again, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the white people know and see the salvation of their slaves that is now present, and they're doing everything they possibly can to deceive the black man and woman into thinking that they, white people, hold out greater and better promises for a future. And that's what this election thing is about. They want you to believe Biden is casting his rod for you to believe that he has a better future in store. And Trump is casting his rod for you to believe that he has a better future in store, when neither one of them have a better future in store for the black man and woman, except that they submit to the will of God and go down that path, but not this federal election path. But getting back to Monique, hiding the truth is something that we see on a daily basis, and we are now more inclined to that type of behavior, because Monique even mentioned early in the interview that she has an audio of Tyler Perry admitting that he lied. So now we getting into gossip and slander. Tyler Perry admits that he gossiped and he slandered and he lied on Monique. Now she has an audio of this that was able to listen to, and still he didn't want to admit what was on the audio. And he kind of sidestepped in addressing what was on the audio to talk about the fact that Monique may or may not have recorded Tyler Perry with or without him knowing. I don't know if she did or not. But it still remains that based on what she said, she didn't do anything illegal. And the reason why she wanted to record Tyler Perry is because she knew her coming out and revealing what happened to her and what Tyler confessed would not be believed unless she had receipts. So what are we getting to, Brother King Cam? We get into the fact that truth or light removes falsehood and darkness. So now that Monique has the audio, it's nothing that Tyler Perry can say because it's his words confessing the things that he's done, which is a good thing. And as I mentioned on the podcast, 8 steps of atonement. And part of those 8 steps of atonement is, number 1, somebody has to point out the wrong. Monique has done that. Cat Williams has done that. Number 2, somebody has to acknowledge. So that's where we moving into now. People acknowledging the wrong. And then you get into confessing. And then repentance and all of these different things. But that's what's needed in this day and time. I don't understand how people can get upset. Like D.L. Hughley got upset. And I know that they had some personal things. I mentioned this on my podcast. Monique took some personal shots at DL, but she apologized for the things that she said that affected other members of DL's family, not specifically to him. But she was woman enough to apologize for the things that she said. Accountability. As I mentioned, accountability is what she's looking for. She's not necessarily looking for you to do anything other than be accountable for the things that you've done. However, you want to continue to walk around and talk around the things that you have done and you refuse to be accountable for. You refuse to be responsible for. That's what she's asking Tyler Perry to be. This is what she's asking of Oprah. No. Just be accountable. Admit you was wrong. Admit that you did something that was other than yourself and that it hurt somebody from your family, somebody from your community, somebody that has never done anything intentionally to try to hurt you. That's all she's asking for. That's really what this is about. It's not about hating or any of that stuff because, you know, all of these individuals that's mentioned were and are individuals that was getting it by themselves. They didn't need necessarily to name drop or mention anybody, you know, because they all within their own respective talent have been able to make their own moves. So I don't think that it's Monique's need to have to be in partnership with these individuals. However, because they are all in the same industry, because they all cross paths, and because things that she has experienced has affected her not only financially, but emotionally and psychologically, these things have to be addressed, as they should. Because we talk about bullying in school, we talk about emotional and psychological trauma that take place. This is the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. And she's seeing how it affects other people. Taraji P. Henson, suffering from the same thing, psychological and emotional trauma. The woman is up on interviews crying about how she's being treated. And this is what Monique was saying. And then you have people like Oprah who are directly or indirectly involved in this type of treatment. And we must call that stuff out. Now, some people are going to say, well, why you not calling out any of the enemy that's involved in this? Well, you already know. I know that the open enemy is involved in this. But the problem is that we have wanted nearness to Pharaoh so bad. We have wanted to be close with our open enemy so much that we have become our open enemy. The same hatred that they have for us has been put into you so that you have it for your own people. So him aside, we now have become our own worst enemy. This is why they don't necessarily have to commit racist acts against us to accomplish their goal because they put so much self-hatred in us that we'll do it for them. So you don't necessarily need any of those executive producers or managers to do much. They just send out their Negroes to do their bidding. That's all. And this is why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, leave your Negroes at home. Your scared to death Negroes. I don't want to talk to them. See, the minister told them, all you scared to death Negroes, sit down, shut up, and tell your master to come out and deal with this. But that's the thing. It's these scared to death Negroes that's coming out on behalf of their master and want to attack their own people about experiences that they've taken, that they had. Literally, Monique mentioned how Kevin Hart said, hey, I'm going to help you with this. I'm going to help you with that. You know, don't worry about the Tyler Perry thing. We're going to do this. And then guess who calls on Kevin Hart's behalf to shut down Monique and the deal trying to get her show back? It's the white manager. So we know who got the power. We know who pulling the strings. We know who feeding your family. And this is why ownership is so important. Because what happens is when you become a slave so much so that you are restricted even in your support of your own people. And the money to you is that important that these puppet masters control your strings enough that they can either allow you to assist somebody that you say is a part of your family or somebody you say you support or you stand behind, or they can restrict the amount of support, if any, that you give to any of these individuals. So as Stephen A. Smith said, the black community is taking sides. But one thing I also wanted to highlight about something that Stephen A. Smith mentioned was the fact that Monique was bitter. And I don't think Monique is bitter at all. I think Monique, again, is just asking for accountability. Stephen A. Smith being one of those on the other side of the fence. He's a Kevin Hart. He's on that side. So he's a beneficiary of the system. So because he's a beneficiary of the system, then one who's a rebel against the system, like a Cat Williams, a Kanye, a Monique, he's gonna say that she's looking bitter. So don't agree with that at all. But comment your thoughts below. Let me know what you think, family. Appreciate you for checking in. And this is your brother King Cam, and this is another Shift in the Culture Perspective. Peace.